Chase at the 40. Look at that move. Look at Chase go. Oh, my goodness. What a gear.
He comes down to this in his car end zone. Intercepted.
McPherson. And Cincinnati is heading to the Super Bowl.
Cross here. Mixon's going to throw. Open man. Caught. Higgins. Touchdown.
Drives. Touchdown. Joe Burrow has his first rushing touchdown of the season.
Hooday, Bengal fans. He is Maan. I am Jake. This is the Bengals Pulse, the heartbeat of our Cincinnati Bengals. Maan, it is playoff week. It is playoff week. And do you get a sense in the air, just from Bengal fans, Twitter, wherever the case may be, this is an expected thing now for us, right? This is the standard. It almost feels like we as Bengal fans now are in this age, and we've talked about it before on the show, this age of Bengaldom where this is going to be a common occurrence every year, right? Agreed?
I agree. I agree 100%. Yeah, it's going to be the new norm for us, and it's going to be an exciting week. I can't wait for that game. I'm glad it's in prime time. I'm in a better mood compared to the end of the last game. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was miserable.
I know. I was
game
there.
And after that game, I was
there.
My biorhythms were off. It just didn't feel right. It didn't feel right. But after some thought, and I'm ready for this game. I cannot wait.
No, it's going to be a good one. And we have a lot to talk about. We're going to kind of wrap up the regular season because the regular season obviously is done. The new season has started. So we're going to wrap up the regular season, talk about some numbers that our Bengals finished with this year. Obviously, a very successful year, a lot for us to cover. And I'm with you, man. This is an exciting week. I do, back to what we said in the beginning of the pod, though, I love what Joe Burrow said. They asked him, what do you feel? Do you feel like you guys are in a window right now? And he's basically like, listen, every year for us, there's going to be a window, right? I mean, basically saying that we are now the top of the AFC, and every year the window is open, not just for him, but for this football team. And I think there's a sense in the building that, last year it was, why not us? And this year, we talked about it, this year is more like they have to play us now, right? And that's kind of the sense you get from these players when you hear them talk, especially this week. These guys expect to go out and dominate this football game. This is a team that is not only battle tested, but the majority of this team was here in the same spot last year and made the run to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's really great to hear Burrow say that confidence, that quiet confidence of his. And, it's true. It's funny. You go on social media, Twitter's been pretty toxic this week with Raven fans, Browns fans, even some Steeler fans piping in about Burrow's comments. Listen, what did he say that wasn't correct? I mean, the Bengals are going to be relevant. They're going to. Right. I mean, they're going to be relevant for as long as he's healthy and he's a Bengal. And they just can't handle it. They know it. Yeah, and they're just they're used to the Bengals just caving in and being the little fourth place finisher in that division. Well, it's not going to be that way. Listen, it's a tough division. I read today, I think 14 Pro Bowlers from the AFC North. And, look at the Ravens are tough and their defense is elite. They made it, they won 10 games with basically no offense. The Steelers almost sneaked into the playoffs. Hey, man, when you play AFC North football and you play 6 games against those guys, it makes you ready for the NFL and or for the other teams in the other conferences, right, or the other divisions. So, what he said is true. If I rub some people the wrong way, so be it. It's a true statement, and it's a great time to be a Bengal fan.
Well, the truth hurts, right? That saying, the truth hurts. And remember, last year, Joe Burrow came out and said, listen, guys, if we can win this division, we can win the Super Bowl, right? And not only did they win it last year, now they're 2-time division champs. And I do want to correct what I said last week. I did misspeak. The Bengals have won 4. The last 10 years, the Bengals have won 4. And I think it's the Steelers have won 4 or the Ravens. So it's
the Ravens and the Steelers have won 2.
Yeah, so
Steelers
the Bengals
have won 2.
Yeah, I think I said the Steelers had won 4 last week, so I misspoke. I'm sorry. Bengals have won 4, the Ravens have won 4, the Steelers have won 2, and then obviously that team up north, they just can't buy a win. So this first stat I want to talk to you about, Maan, is something that you and I have talked about for years and years and years. It's this sense of, the Bengals have just become good lately, and you and I have heard that, since the Andy Dalton era started. Well, they're just now being good, and then the Joe Burrow era started, and they're just now being good. Mon, since 2009, the Bengals are tied for 4th with most playoff appearances since 2009. The Patriots have 12, the Chiefs have 10, the Ravens have 9, and the Bengals and Steelers are both tied at 8. Mon, this football team, they've been good for a while now. We've been very spoiled with this football team. Not a lot of playoff wins since last year, but that number to me is extremely impressive and really should close the mouth of a lot of these lazy guys that we see in the media that just talk about all of a sudden the Bengals are good. No, the Bengals have been good for a while now, over a decade.
Yeah. Jake, not to knock your research abilities, but you found that online in minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's a factual stat, but the lazy, the narrative that we bring up over the last few episodes, how the talking heads on NFL Network, on ESPN, they just always divert back to the 90s and how the Bengals used to operate and, the bad, horrible teams that they had. And let's face it, the Bengals really had some bad teams back then, but they have a staff full of interns, of people that could find this stuff for them. And they just refuse to do it. I mean, I don't think they want to talk about, the stat you just mentioned about all the playoff appearances since 2000.
I agree.
They don't want that. It's just easy for them to, all the Bengals. It's always Cincinnati, but the Bengals, Joe Burrow,
right.
but it's always that. It's always that. And listen, it's never easy for us. If we make it back to the Super Bowl this year, we have to beat the Ravens twice in that great defense. Potentially, we have to go play Buffalo in Buffalo, and there's a big probability we have to go play the Chiefs again. If we make it to the Super Bowl this year, and any national media guy says but again about the Bengals, they should be fired immediately on the network that they work on.
Agreed.
And I mean, listen, just one game at a time. We're not going to jump ahead. But listen, the Cincinnati Bengals are relevant, and these talking heads they're not ready for it. They're not ready for it. And it's going to take, unfortunately, we're going to have to win a Super Bowl before it really shuts them up. But I'm not worried about them. I'm just worried about this team. And I'm proud of this team, and I'm glad to be a fan of the Bengals because, buddy, they are fun to watch and they're fun to follow.
Well, that narrative, you're right. Everybody is so stuck on the 90s, they cannot move past it. A lot of these talking head guys, and a lot of them we talked about are guys that played in the 90s, right? A lot of these media guys played in the 90s, and you're right. This is not something that I had to go to a library. I know some of you guys don't know what that is because you don't really need one of those anymore. I'll be honest with you. I don't think I ever went to one, even when there was one, but it's not like I had to go do research on this. It literally, the minute, 5 minutes after the season ended, boom, it's right there in front of you. And you're right. And we've talked about the lazy reporting and stuff on the Bengals. This organization have been to the playoffs only 4 less than the New England Patriots, which you would consider the standard these last 2 decades. The Bengals are right there. I mean, obviously the difference is the New England Patriots finished the job and we didn't finish the job. And that's something that I think this team is going to be capable of doing. We weren't capable of finishing the job with those Palmer teams, with those Dalton teams. But this Joe Burrow-led team, they're different. And Joe Burrow said just as recently as today, I believe, this is the closest locker room I've ever been a part of. We heard that last year, and this locker room seems to be even closer than last year. The leadership in that locker room and the guys they have in that locker room it's special. It is special. And we'll get into free agency and all that stuff later. But hopefully they're able to keep that together. Let's go over the final team rankings because before we go over the individual stuff, it's all about the team, right? That's where it really matters. Football is the greatest team sport on the planet. So let's talk about the team final rankings for offense and defense. Offense first, Mom. Total offense finishes 8th. The pass offense finishes 5th. The rush offense finishes 29th. And the scoring offense finishes 7th. It's incredible. It's really incredible that you have such a lopsided offensive team statistical number where it's 8, 5, 29, 7. It's really incredible what this team has accomplished. And again, I think it speaks on Joe Burrow. This guy has not had a run game since what? It's been 5 or 6 weeks, maybe now at this point, where we've seen an explosive run game from this offense. This guy hasn't had that. Joe Burrow hasn't had a run game, and they are
started in the Tampa game.
Yeah, Tampa game. Really, that's
Tampa
the
game.
downfall.
Yeah.
That's the downfall, right?
Exactly.
Total offense 8th, pass offense 5th, scoring offense 7th, and then rush offense 29th. Mon, you have harped on it weeks and weeks and weeks. This team has got to find the run game these last 4 games. They have got to find the run game.
They do. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Listen, the Cincinnati Bengals are never going to be a Baltimore Raven type team where they're going to run the ball 35, 40 times a game. That's never going to happen with Zach Taylor and his offense. But listen,
not with Joe Burrow.
29th.
You're not going to find out with Joe Burrow, right?
That's true. But 29th in the NFL, 29th in yards per carry. I think they average under 3.6, 3.7 yards per carry. I'm sorry, guys, that's just not acceptable. They have to be able to run the ball effectively. Okay, listen, there's going to be times in the game where they're going to have to eat up the clock, and they're going to have to do it. And like you saw it last week a little bit, they couldn't run the ball. They only had 58 yards rushing, some screen passes, short passes to Boyd, Higgins, our receivers. And man, those Raven linebackers are teeing off on them. And listen, we just can't have the wear and tear on those guys. And we have very capable running backs. Listen, all 4 of our running backs could start for multiple teams in the NFL, and we just have to run the ball. And when we do run it, we need to be very efficient at it. And hopefully they rectify that in the playoffs. Because I tell you what, if they don't, it could be a short one. It could be a short one for us,
right? And be consistent with it. Run consistently. Not again. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I think I talked about let the dam break. Let it break. You gotta beat on the wall and beat on the wall, but finally it's going to break. So you got to be consistent. You got to be patient with the run game. The Bengals are going to play these next 3 games, no matter where they are, because it's either going to be, well, obviously this one's in Cincy. The next one's either going to be in Buffalo or in Cincy, right? And the last one's either going to be in Kansas City or Cincy. You're going to have cold weather games. These next 3 games are going to be cold weather games. Got to find the run game, especially this week, not including this week, but you have to play Buffalo and Kansas City. You got to keep those guys off the field, right? You got to be able to run the football. Total defense, kind of surprising. Total defense 16th, pass defense 23rd. Pass defense 23rd, rush defense 7th, but the important stat, scoring defense, Mon, 6th in the NFL. And what does that tell me? That tells me that what we all know, this defense is bend but don't break. And we get inside that red zone, and our defense has been outstanding this year inside the red zone.
Yeah, and one other stat that I really love too is the turnover differential. We're +6 this year, which is really good.
+6. Yep,
Yeah,
+6.
that's amazing. Yeah, listen, the defense. Honestly, listen, when Cheeto was injured, I really had a bad feeling. The Bengals have been undefeated since he went out, and I don't know how Lou Anarumo does it. I'm not knocking Cam Taylor-Britt. I'm not knocking Eli Apple. They're solid NFL players. Cam Taylor-Britt's getting better. He is being targeted some, but they're finding a way to make it work in that secondary. With a guy that's bounced around the league, and Eli Apple, and Cam Taylor-Britt didn't have much of a. He was injured, didn't have a preseason. He's gotten better every week, but I think the real glue to our defense is Von Bell and Jesse Bates. Jesse Bates has picked it up the last few weeks. Really, he's played excellent football. And if you think about it, the strength of this defense is up the middle. Reeder, Wilson, Pratt, and our safeties. Okay, and of course
BJ
Mike
Hill.
Hilton.
Don't
Yeah,
leave
and
BJ
BJ Hill,
out.
absolutely.
Right.
That's the strength of this defense, right up the middle, and they do a good job of protecting each other. And listen, they get the job done. Sometimes it's not pretty. I get it, but they've been really solid for us this year, and we're going to need them to continue to be solid in this playoff run for us.
And we're seeing a lot of similarities too with last year, right? Because when did Jesse Bates turn it on last year?
In the
Right around the
playoffs, you're
same
right.
time. Right around the same time,
Absolutely.
right? We saw the same thing last year with Jesse Bates, where he had that incredible playoff run. Maan, I think the defense ended up giving up 12 or 13 second half touchdowns. That's pretty impressive. In 16
It
games,
is.
they gave up 12. I think it was 12 touchdowns, maybe 13, but right in that 12-13 area in 16 games. That's pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, and Jake, some of our games, we had a handful of games, we had double-digit leads, and these teams are just unleashing the ball in the fourth quarter, trying to play catch up. Some of the yardage in against our secondary, Bengals are nursing a 20-point lead, so sometimes it's a little skewed. But listen, I'm telling you, the more and more I look at our roster and look at that defense, and I'm not knocking the talent there. I think we have amazing players there, but Lou Anarumo really he has maximized the talent on that roster because man, they play good team defense. They work really well together. They're one hell of a team, and
I agree.
Man, they are fun to watch. They are fun to watch. Fun to watch.
I think that starts in the locker room too. I mean, you and I have talked about it since this pod has started. It starts in the locker room, right? The leadership in the locker room. This team, Joe Burrow has said it numerous times. Other players have said it numerous times. How close this locker room is. How close it was last year. And it spills out onto the field because you see incredible team defense. Look at all the mix and match guys, the fill-ins that have had to play, and we really haven't missed a beat. When DJ Reeder was out, you did see quite a difference when DJ Reeder went out, but for the most part, you really didn't see that big of a difference. With some, when Cheeto went out, I mean, guys have stepped up and played really well. And that's, like you said, that's on a lot of that's Lou Anarumo and his scheme and the way that he puts guys in good positions to make plays. I mean, I say it all the time as a coach. A lot of coaching is putting guys in the right position to be successful. Put them in the right position to make plays. Whether that's how you scheme defensively, whether that's how you move guys around, you use their skill sets, whether you're, rushing off the edge or dropping into coverage, whatever you might do with them. That's a big part of coordinating on either side of the ball, on offensive side or defensive side. And we see that a lot from Lou. Receiving stats. And again, we've talked about how good this receiving core is. I found these receiving stats thanks to Bengals Talk, and they had posted this on Twitter. And once I got to looking at it, I'm like, God, this is so impressive by Joe Burrow too. I mean, listen to this. So we have we have Jamar Chase with 87 receptions, T. Higgins with 74, Tyler Boyd with 58, Joe Mixon with 60, Hayden Hurst with 52, Samaje Perine with 38, and then Trenton Irwin 15, Mitchell Wilcox 17. But you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys with over 35 receptions and 5 guys with over 50 receptions. That is impressive, Mon. Again,
Extremely impressive.
As a coach, when you see those kind of numbers, number one, you're getting great play from your quarterback, and number two, you got a group of guys that can step in and make plays all over the field. Jamar Chase, over 1,000 yards again, 1,046 yards. T. Higgins, 1,029. So once again, 2 receivers over 1,000 yards. Tyler Boyd, almost 800 yards receiving. Joe Mixon, Hayden Hurst, both over 400 yards receiving. Samaje Perine, Trent Irwin, both over 200, almost 300 yards receiving. Again, Joe Burrow is so good about moving the football around and distributing it to all these different guys and getting all these guys involved in the game. That is so important, and that is going to be even more important these last 4 games.
Yeah, it is. It is impressive how they distribute the ball and everybody's contributed. I'm going to harp back something you said a few minutes ago about the players that we lost. And like, for example, Cheeto, we haven't lost a game since he was injured. Our depth has improved so much on this roster. Look at DJ Reader, missed a handful of games. Logan Wilson missed some. Jamar Chase missed 4 games. We went 3-1 when Jamar Chase was injured. Tyler Boyd was injured at one time. So was T. Higgins, missed a game. Now we have some issues on the offensive line. We got guys jumping in. So listen, so hats off to the Bengals, Duke Tobin, Zach Taylor for assembling a team that's deep. And when we unfortunately do miss a player like Jamar Chase, like you just said, Trent Irwin came in. All these other people came in and picked up the slack a little bit. Yeah, naturally there's going to be a little bit of a drop off, but the Bengals found a way to make it work. And a lot of that has to do with the depth, and a lot of it has to do with, like you just said, Joe Burrow. Hey, man, he makes everybody better on that team. He really does. And you know what? Jake, I'm a broken record, man. It is so fun to be a Bengal fan right now. I just love this team so much. And I just can't wait for this primetime game because I want the rest of America to feel what I'm feeling. All right. I mean, this team is special. And I've been a Bengal fan for years. And honestly, there's something different about this Bengal franchise right now. There's something different. I remember years ago when the Patriots were terrible. Everybody made fun of the Patriots. Everybody made fun of the Packers. All right. Then all of a sudden they had this transformation. And like people now that watch the show, they're probably, what's Maan talking about? Hey, the Packers used to be the laughing stock of the football. So did the Patriots. Yeah. People made fun of them. And now, they've been so good for so long because it took a quarterback. It took a vision from the front office. It took a good head coach. I think we're seeing that in the Bengals right now. In 15, 20 years, people aren't going to talk about the lost decade. They're not going to listen to.
Nope. We lost you, Maan.
I got you. Can you hear me? See me?
Hey, yeah, we lost you for a minute.
All right, cool. Sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on.
You're talking about the lost decade.
Yeah, I just people aren't going to talk about that anymore. It's going to be done because the Bengals are going to be considered. They're going to be up there with the elite clubs. Everybody still talks about the Patriots. They talk about all these special teams, and that's what's happening now in Cincinnati.
We know Joe Burrow had a rough start. Yeah, obviously that first year, that rookie year, it's even hard to count it. The injury and everything else that happened, Mon. But in 42 career regular season starts, in 42, Joe Burrow 24-17-1. If you count the playoffs, obviously he is 27-18-1. And again, my point being, Joe Burrow is the catalyst to this thing. He really is. I mean, Zach Taylor's vision, that's a huge part of it. The front office and the organization going out. They're getting guys that are being key role players. I mean, think about the guys: Trey Hendrickson, DJ Reader, Von Bell, Cheeto. I mean, the all, Kappa, Karras, Collins, Hurst. I mean, just listen to all those names that BJ Hill, right? All these guys that Mike Hilton, that all these guys the Bengals have added to this roster, but the catalyst is Joe Burrow. And again, when you go back and you look at all the great teams, 95% of them have a guy that's elite, right? You and I in the 80s, unfortunately, it was Joe Montana, right? You had this elite quarterback, and it really didn't even matter what the roster was like. Joe Montana was just that good. Then you have, the Cowboys, you have Troy Aikman, and Troy Aikman, same thing. He wasn't a flashy guy, but he just made everybody else around him better, right? Troy Aikman was that guy in the 90s. Then, of course, Brett Favre rolled in, and then Tom Brady rolled in, and these teams that have flipped the switch, a lot of it goes back to that quarterback, like you said. That having that piece of the puzzle is just it's so important. I mean, you can't even put words to it. It makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, if you don't have that signal, the caller, if you don't have that quarterback, you're not going to succeed. You may have there's a lot of teams out there that win 7, 8, 9 games, but let's face it, if you don't have a Mahomes, you don't have a Herbert, you don't have a Burrow, you don't have a Allen, you don't have a Prescott, or Jalen Hurts. If I forget somebody, I'm sorry. If you don't have one of those, the chances of you making a Super Bowl or making a deep run in the playoffs is rare. It's just, you've got to have one of those studs. You got to.
And I love this too. This is really interesting, right? I didn't even think about this, but Dan Horde tweeted this out. This is incredible. He got this from Jeff. He actually got this from Jeff Hobson. So Jeff Hobson is the one that originally broke this. But so kudos to Jeff Hobson and obviously Dan for putting it out there for the ones of us that missed it. Trey Hendrickson, Maan, is 6 for 6 in winning division titles in his career. He has never not been a part of a team that has won the division, Maan. 4 with the Saints, 2 now with the Bengals, including the playoffs, Maan. Trey Hendrickson's teams, 77 and 31. Tell me.
That's amazing.
That is why you pay pass rushers, right? Yeah. That is why Trey Hendrickson, why the Bengals went out and they spent all that money on Trey Hendrickson, and everybody was like, what are you doing spending money on this guy? He's a one-hit wonder. The guy has been nothing but a winner and an incredible pass rusher. That's incredible. The guy's never not won a division. He doesn't know what it's like not winning his division. That's incredible.
Jake,
in 6 years.
Jake, last week I sent you a picture and I posted it on all my social media. I have a autographed Trey Hendrickson jersey that I framed and put on my wall. So what does he do after I do that? He gets 2 sacks against the Ravens. And listen, I love it. And he's one of my favorite free agent signings. Yeah, you know what? We talked about it on past podcasts and shows, and you just harped on it here a few minutes ago. Reader, him, Von Bell, Hilton. The Bengals spent $200+ million to get these guys. And I salute them for it because they hit a home run. We did have one miss, but listen, that's a big part of the transformation, of course, Chase and Burrow too. But listen, those guys on defense, the Bengals had to, we got to be real here. They had some bad drafts, and we had we had a talent issue, and so the Bengals knew it, and they had to go out and spend some money. And I salute them for doing it, and that's why we're talking about a playoff game this week against the Ravens because these guys are performing and they're studs.
Well, last thing, and then we'll move on to the Ratbirds. Okay. Really quick. Only one NFL quarterback, this comes from PFF Cincinnati Bengals, only one NFL quarterback has finished both 2001 and 2022. Sorry, 2021 and 2022. So only one NFL quarterback has finished both 2021 and 2022 regular seasons with a PFF grade of 90 plus. Only one, Mon. Not Josh Allen, not Patrick Mahomes. Mr. Joe Burrow is the only one that graded out a 90 plus in 21 and 22. Again, I've said it before. I'll say it again. He is the best quarterback in the NFL. It's hands down. It's hands down. All right, Mon, Ratbirds. Here we go. The Ratbirds. I feel like deja vu. We just talked about them literally a week ago. This football team is going to be a little bit different than the one we saw on Sunday, right? They got a couple guys coming back that obviously are going to help out. Quarterback situation still up in the air. As of today, Lamar Jackson still has not practiced. Huntley didn't throw the ball today at practice. He's having some elbow issue now as well. I got a feeling we're going to see Huntley. I think that's what we're going to see. But this Ravens defense, we just saw them. The Ravens defense, like you said, that's what you're worried about. That's their strength. This offense has got to establish itself early. It's got to be consistent. We can't come out, put up 17, 20 points, and then shut it down for 5 drives. We cannot do that against this football team. We have got to be consistent. We have got to put points on the board on every drive and run the football. I mean, this Bengal team has got to establish a run. Joe Burrow cannot throw the ball 50 times in this game.
Jake, it's not going to be rocket science what the Ravens are going to do.
Yeah.
Listen, I did some math here. The last 6 games that the Ravens offense has played, they've averaged 12.5 points a game, under 13 points a game. Their offense is struggling. Their defense has carried them. Listen, this defense is going to throw the kitchen sink at Joe Burrow. They want to get a couple turnovers. They want to try to get short field for their offense that is struggling. I expect Dobbins, I expect the Ravens to run the ball 40-plus times this game. They want to shorten the game. They want Joe Burrow on the bench. I agree with you. Every time we get the ball, we have got to capitalize. And listen, I'm going to tell you, it's going to be tough because this defense, we have to be careful with turnovers. We cannot get any turnovers in this game because they're going to do everything in their power to punch out a ball, to try to get some pressure, get an errant throw, try to get Burrow to maybe throw a potential, easy pick for them. Just got to be really careful, hold on to the ball, be smart. And listen, I'm sort of having flashbacks. We were at the game in Pittsburgh, the meltdown at Paul Brown. It's going to be a chippy game. They're going to try to get some reactions out of us. They're going to, there's going to be some cheap shots. There's going to be high emotion. Bengals just got to be smart.
Yeah.
They are the much better team. I mean, on paper, we should beat them by 14, 21 points. But listen, the Ravens, they're experts at playing 16-14 games, 17-10 games. That's what they want. And I'm sure Zach Taylor, Lou Anarumo, they're going to be ready for it. I expect likely their tight end and Mark Andrews to have a handful of catches. I'm not worried about their wide receivers. But the Bengals are going to go all out to stop the run. We need to be careful that we don't give, maybe a junk TD pass or something. But we'll see. Primetime is Cincinnati. It's going to be hard for them to beat us. I
just feel like the Bengals are in a situation this week where, again, let the quarterback beat you. I know you're worried about some one-on-one stuff and that sort of thing, but that kind of stuff happens in football. Don't let Dobbins is your best player on offense. Don't let him beat you. Just don't let him beat you. Do whatever you got to do. Put 8 in the box. Put 9 in the box. Play press man. Whatever you can do. We got the guys that can do that. You cannot let J.K. Dobbins beat you. You just cannot. No matter what happens in this football game, you cannot look back on it and say, how did we let him beat us? Especially with a guy like Huntley or, if Brown is back in there as well, let those 2 guys beat you. Do whatever you got to do. Let them beat you. But I agree with you. The matchup is the Bengals offense versus the Ravens defense. That's the matchup. Because the Ravens offense is pathetic. It's terrible. the matchup is going to be the Bengals offense versus the Ravens defense. And what I do like is this. Although the Ravens know the Bengals, it's a divisional game. So they know a lot of the scheme stuff that they do. They know a lot of the stuff they like to do on offense and defense, whatever. Offensively, last Sunday, if you go back and watch that film on, we are so vanilla. And I said it after the game. I just watching the game, you could tell. There's not a lot of some of the stuff that we've seen Zach Taylor do these last couple weeks. There's no wrenches. There's no kinks. There was nothing seen on Sunday besides just a very vanilla offense. And this team we were able to still score 27 points. Again, a lot of that was the defense putting us in good field position. But I got a feeling you're going to see a lot of misdirection. You're going to see a lot of different things that this Bengals offense is going to do to try to take away that pressure that the Ravens were bringing on Sunday, because they were. And you're right. They're going to do that. They are going to bring pressure. They're going to bring the house. But I think you're going to see a lot more misdirection on Sunday with this Bengals offense, stuff that we didn't see this past game.
Yeah, you know what? If they do bring the house and we burn them for a nice long TD, that would be great, because they'll think twice about doing it again. Last week, Jake, we ran the ball 20 times for 58 yards. I think like 2.8 yards per carry. Listen, if we run another 20, 22, 23 times and we get 95, maybe 100 yards, it doesn't sound like that big of a difference. 42 more yards. Well, that's 4 more first downs. That's huge.
That's a
that
huge
would be,
difference.
If we get 20 carries for 95 yards, I'll take that. I'll take that. That's that's a few more first downs. That will keep them honest. Like, hey man, these guys getting 4 yards a pop, 4.5 yards a pop. That would be great. And you know what? Listen, I don't want the Bengals. Like I said, I don't want them to run the ball 40 times a game. That's silly. But they just need to be a little more efficient. And listen, man, it's going to be a chippy game. They're going to try to get under our skins. That coach, I tell you what, I cannot stand that coach. Something about him, he's so snide. He thinks he's the smartest football coach in the history of civilization. And I just and it really got. He didn't shake Zach Taylor's hand after the game.
He's classless. He's classless. We talked about that last week. We talked about it on Monday. He's classless. He is such a clown. Again, this organization, I just don't understand what they are doing. They just paid an off-ball linebacker $100 million when their franchise quarterback is sitting there like, what about me for the last year? I would say this game is going to be Lamar Jackson's last game in a Baltimore Ravens uniform. But I mean, again, Roquan Smith, he's a good football player. He is a clown, but he is a good football player. An off-ball linebacker making over $20 million a year is absolutely ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
It is. You know what? Listen, Smith's a fine player. He's trying to be the big tough guy on that defense right now. Listen, you remember a few years ago, we talked about it. They ran for 450 against us in that last game of the season where we had so many injuries that year. And he was just snickering, and he kept on running the ball, putting it in our face. So what happens?
You're talking about Harbaugh. You're talking about Harbaugh.
Talk about John Harbaugh. Yeah. And then guess what happens the next year? What does he do? 525, Zach Taylor. Joe Burrow puts 525 on him. So they meet at the 50-yard line after the game, and John Harbaugh is talking to Zach. I would love to know what he was saying, but you could tell he was upset about it. Are you kidding me? No. It's okay for Harbaugh to do that. He did it against the 49ers a couple years earlier, where he just ran up the score trying to get a personal record for one of his players. It's okay for Harbaugh to do it, but when somebody else does it, how dare you try to embarrass me? This guy's like, man, he's insufferable. He really is.
Well, we're gonna pick the game here in a minute, but I again, this matchup comes down to this Bengals offense. I really do. You gotta for the Bengals offense, you cannot get yourself behind the sticks. That's the biggest thing. Stay ahead of the sticks. On first down, get 5 or 6 yards, get 4 yards, but we cannot be in 2nd and 9, 2nd and 8, 3rd and 9, This Baltimore Ravens defense is too good to be playing behind the chains the entire game. And I think, that's what we saw when we kind of failed on those last 4 or 5 drives, on Sunday, is we got behind the chains and the defense was able to take advantage of it. And luckily our defense played well enough to bail them out. But the Bengals offense has got to stay ahead of the chains. Again, like you said, on paper, the Bengals are 14, 20 points better than this Ravens team. And we're going to see. I'm going to be honest with you. I know there's a lot of different things going out there right now in the Twitter world about, where these Bengals stand. I got a feeling these Bengals are a little pissed about the thing we talked about on Monday, where the Ravens guys, especially Roquan Smith, were taking cheap shots after plays. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens when this game kicks off. I got a feeling the Cincinnati Bengals are taking a lot of that personally, and it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see. We cannot get chippy with them, though. That's the one thing, is we can't get chippy. We can't play down to them, because that's the only way the Ravens are going to stay in this football game, is if we play down to them.
Jake, you know what we cannot have? We can't have what happened in the Pittsburgh Steelers playoff game in 2015, 2016. We were there. That officiating crew for the NFL, John Perry, who's on, I think he's on one of the telecasts now as their referee expert. He let that, he absolutely let it was so chippy. There's so much going on, even on the sideline. Remember Reggie Nelson's hair was pulled by one of the Munchak pulled his hair, one of the Steelers coaches. You know what? They need to take over the game. They can't let that happen. If there's another incident where Roquan Smith bumps into, Jamar Chase like he did in the end zone, throw a flag on him. I mean, you know what? If they start doing that, it'll set the tone. Players will know, like, hey, man, we can't do this. So, listen, the Bengals just got to be smart. I think they're going to win the game. It's going to be tough. I'm not going to lie. It's not going to be an easy game, but I think Cincinnati will pull away at the end, and they'll play another week of playoff football.
All right. Before we get to the weekend of playoff football, you and I are going to pick the games. Before we get to that, though, I'm going to have a trivia question for you. This one comes from James Palmer. He tweeted it out. It's insane. Are you ready? Here we go. So the Bengals finished the regular season with an 8-game win streak. We know that it matched the 2015 team. So the Bengals finished the season with an 8-game win streak. Who was the only other team in NFL history with a longer winning streak to finish the regular season after losing the previous Super Bowl? Let me say that again, or you got it?
Okay, so the team that lost the Super Bowl the year before, who was that team that had a 10-game win streak?
Well, okay, so the Bengals, again, obviously we lost the Super Bowl last year. We finished the season with an 8-game win streak this year. Who was the only team in NFL history to have a longer win streak to finish the following season after losing the previous Super Bowl?
Okay, I'm going to guess because they lost this Super Bowl. Yeah, they were humiliated, but I'm going to say the Broncos with Peyton Manning.
No, but that is a really good guess.
Okay.
The 1972 Miami Dolphins.
Oh, okay. All right. Nice.
The 1972 Miami Dolphins lost the previous Super Bowl. The next year, they went undefeated and won the Super Bowl. Hopefully, our Cincinnati Bengals finish the job these next 4 games. All right, here we go. All right, let's start with Saturday, Maan. Right off the bat, we got Saturday, first game, Seattle at San Francisco. Maan, who you got?
It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be close. I'm sorry. This is easy. San Francisco is going to win. I got it 28-10 over the Seahawks.
Wow, only 10 points for the Seahawks.
Yep.
I'm with you. I think this game is over before it started. I'm going to say it's a little bit closer. I'm going to say San Fran 27, Seattle 17. So I'll say 10 points.
Yeah. Jake, remember when the Bengals under Andy Dalton first made the playoffs? They gave them this time slot, the first playoff game in Wild Card Weekend. The Bengals have come a long way. They get a primetime spot now.
Primetime spot, yeah.
That's right.
That was an awful playoff game, by the way.
That was.
Oh God, that Texans game was just awful. All All right, here we go. The next game on Saturday, the primetime game, the Los Angeles Chargers travel to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Mon, who you got?
Well, listen, that's a lot of traveling for them. But listen, those are two very hot teams.
Yeah.
Jacksonville's won 6 of their last 7 playing and at home. Listen, Jacksonville's going to be a handful for years to come. They're building something special there. They're not going to win. I got the Chargers winning in a shootout. Okay. And I like Jacksonville. I really do. 28-24 Chargers.
You had me all hyped, Mon. You had me all hyped there for a minute. You just threw a curveball. I'm going to disagree with you. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars win this football game. I really do. I think the Chargers traveling across country, and I'm not saying Trevor Lawrence is better than Justin Herbert. I really have them kind of the same level. But I think the Jacksonville Jaguars win this game. I think if the Jaguars had to travel to Los Angeles, probably go with the Chargers. But I'm going to go with the home team. I'm going to say Jacksonville beats the Chargers. I'll say 24-21. 24-21. The Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jacksonville Jaguars, Mon. They win, and I think they are going to be traveling to Kansas City the following week. Here we go.
Jake, I'm being a little bit of a homer here. I'm looking ahead. If the Chargers go to KC, I'm convinced the Chargers beat the Chiefs. I really think they will.
That's why you're trying.
That's
to
what I want. That's what I want. Okay.
I agree.
I'm being real. I'm being real.
No,
okay.
I agree with you too. I think the Chargers have a good shot against KC. I agree with you on that. Here we go. Yeah. How did Buffalo get this? How did Buffalo get a bye week? It's unreal, Mon. Miami Dolphins at Buffalo Bills. Tua has already been put to the out category, so no Tua this Sunday. And not that Tua would help them, but the first game on Sunday, Miami at Buffalo without Tua. Who you got?
Yeah, definitely like our chances. I like the Dolphins' chances a little better if Tua was there, but Tua or not, I just don't see the Dolphins going into Buffalo. I know they played them twice this year. They beat them once. He played them really good, really close game in Buffalo.
Yep.
It's just Buffalo playoff atmosphere, emotional high with DeMar Hamlin. Buffalo's going to win the game easily. I think the Dolphins will put up a fight. And it's just not going to be enough. I got 27-17 Buffalo Bills.
I got 31-17. I'm going to say 31-17 Buffalo Bills win, and our Cincinnati Bengals have to travel to Buffalo next week. All right, New York Giants, the second game. New York Giants at Minnesota Vikings. Interesting game. Who you got?
I got this. I got the first upset of the season right now, of the playoffs. I got the Giants beating the Vikings at home. Something about the Giants are, Dayball, well coached, like a try-hard team. They're piecing things together. I like the fact that I love their running back. Their defense is tough. I'm going to have a 24-21 Giant win over the Minnesota Vikings.
Okay. All right. I'm going to disagree. I just think the Giants, the Minnesota Vikings, they have the firepower. I'm not saying the Giants are not a good football team. I don't see Minnesota losing this game at home. So I'm going to say Minnesota. I'll say Minnesota 30, New York Giants 27. Vikings win on a last-second field goal. All right, we're going to skip our game. We're going to finish with our game. So let's go to the Monday night game, a game that I'm not sure anyone in this country wants to watch. The Dallas Cowboys at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. How in the hell is this the Monday night game on? This is the worst game of the week. Nobody wants to watch this game. It's going to be awful. Mon, Dallas Cowboys at Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Who you got?
Okay. Here's my second upset of the playoff weekend. I got Tampa Bay beating Dallas. Tampa Bay, the last 2 times they've played Dallas, has beat them. Tom Brady, Tampa at home wins 31-24. 21 over the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm going to agree with you. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers win this football game. I really do. It's hard for me to say that because I watched it live against our Bengals, but I think Tom Brady wins this football game. I think he wins this football game. I'm going to say Tampa wins again on a last-second field goal, 27-24. Tampa Bay Buccaneers win this. All right, Maan. The game that counts, the only one that counts. The Ratbirds come back to Cincinnati 2 weeks in a row, play our Cincinnati Bengals. Maan, who you got?
Listen, this is going to be a hard-fought game. Of course, I got my Cincinnati Bengals winning. It's going to be a similar score to what we had last week. I have Cincinnati winning 24-16 over the Ravens.
Okay. I'm going to say Bengals 27, Ravens 13. Bengals 27, Ravens 13. I think the Bengals do win by 2 scores. I think this offense comes out clicking, and I think we're going to see a different offense from our Cincinnati Bengals. And I do think the Ravens are going to keep it close for a while, but I think eventually they're going to run out of steam. Again, make the Ravens throw the football, and we will be in really good shape. Maan, it's going to be a crazy atmosphere. Joe Burrow already said that Monday night game before kickoff. I was there, Maan. I'm going to tell you, I told you this before. That Monday night game against the Bills, the whole pregame kickoff, it was so electric. It was unreal. I think we're going to see the same thing on Sunday night. Joe Burrow has asked for it. Bengal fans, let's give it to him. It's going to be a great night. I am so excited. Maan, it's playoff week, man. We're right back here. It feels like we just left, right? It feels like we just left. We're right back here. It's time for this team to make a run, Maan.
It is, and I can't wait. Got this nervousness. It's just, I just have flashbacks of the run we had last year, all the playoff games, the games we were watching at my house. Yeah. You would go outside and watch through the front window. We were, and all the nail biters. I just want to get this one knocked out, and I don't want to jump ahead one game at a time. We'll see how it goes. I think we're going to win 24-16, and then we'll worry about the next game after that.
And hopefully, we saw Alex Kappa today on the scooter at practice. He was out there. He did get some good news. Said looks like definitely going to be back for the Super Bowl. So let's make sure we get there so we can see Mr. Kappa back on the field. All right, guys, that's another edition of the Bengals Pulse. If you like this podcast, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Again, make sure you check us out on all the podcast platforms, Stitcher, Spotify, and Apple. Once again, if you like this podcast, please give Maan and I that 5-star review. We'd very much appreciate it. Follow us on Twitter at BengalsPulse_9. Follow us on Instagram, the same without the at, Bengals_Pulse9. And once again, guys, as always, make sure you check out all the awesome podcasts right here on the Wincinnati Podcast Network. Maan, it's time, baby. Let's get this W. Bengal fans, it's time, baby. All right, Houday. He's Maan.
See you guys.
I'm Jake. It's the Bengal Pulse. We will talk to you on Monday about a Bengal victory.
See you guys.